This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A setback for President Bush and his big stealth bomber program. The House of Representatives today voted to impose limits on funding for the B-2, and with the stealth program's overall $70 billion price tag, a key issue in this debate, confirmation tonight that the B-2's manufacturer is under investigation for possible billing fraud. Our coverage begins with CBS News reporter Linda Tyra on Capitol Hill.
The world's most expensive plane, designed to evade enemy detection, today flew into the crosshairs of Congress. The House slashed more than 1/4 of the administration's $4.7 billion request, keeping the stealth program alive but slowing down production and demanding the Air Force come up with a cheaper price tag.
What we've got to do is go back, scrub those numbers, and see whether it is not possible to come up with a program that is politically acceptable and more affordable.
The House rejected efforts to end production, a minor victory to backers who continue to urge adoption of the president's full program. 132 bombers costing $70 billion.
Failure to proceed with the B-2 puts the United States Air Force out of the bomber business.
Lobbying on the stealth has been fast and furious. The big guns of the administration and the Air Force brass taking their case to Congress, and Northrop, the prime contractor, taking its case to the airwaves.
Now, the B-2, America's most thoroughly tested new bomber.
After $20 billion for research and 10 years to do it, the contractor and the Pentagon got excited because it went down the runway and stayed in the air for a couple of hours.
Opponents of the B-2 argue it just cannot fly politically.
B-2 or not B-2? That is the question. A handsome bomber, yes, but better not to be.
But the B-2 has wide pork barrel appeal. The stealth has scores of subcontractors and suppliers in 47 states and the District of Columbia. The Senate yesterday gave the bomber a conditional go-ahead, and at levels generally requested by the administration. A House-Senate conference will work out the differences. Yet the administration and builders of the B-2 are now on notice that the once secret stealth has to prove itself to the public. Linda Tyra, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
B-2 sticker shock got worse today with the revelation that the Justice Department is conducting 2 criminal probes into millions of dollars in alleged mischarges on the stealth bomber program. Pentagon officials and congressional sources say the mischarges were allegedly made by Northrop Corporation, the plane's manufacturer, with the knowledge of Air Force officials. Northrop says it is not aware of a criminal investigation, but it is already the target of a civil suit in which present and former employees claim Northrop improperly billed the Air Force for costs the company should have paid.
We have evidence of one audit which showed $400 million in overcharges, which audit was shredded. I would suspect we're probably talking $1 to $2 billion.
The overall cost of the B-2 program has grown by nearly 20% over the past decade, although much of that can be attributed to the uncertainties of working on the cutting edge of high tech. One former Pentagon official says Northrop was slow to adopt a quality control program.
I pushed this very hard with Northrop, and it wasn't until last fall, the fall of 1988, that they even said that they had a program in place. That's late in the game in a program as sophisticated as the B-2 bomber.
Northrop is a major defense contractor, and stealth is not the only one of its programs under criminal investigation.
They have no less than 8 grand juries inquiring into the conduct of their business with the taxpayers.
Defense Secretary Cheney was himself skeptical of the B-2 program, but he investigated and pronounced himself satisfied.
Northrop is a major contractor, major supplier. There are ongoing investigations where Northrop's concerned. I think everybody knows that. That's not news.
An aide to Cheney says the alleged mischarges do not affect the stealth bomber's ability to slip through Soviet air defenses. But mischarges could affect the plane's cost, and that more than anything is what Congress doesn't like. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
The stealth bomber is just one of many high-cost programs President Bush is pushing, while at the same time refusing to budge from his pledge of no new taxes. So increasingly, among Democrats and Republicans, the question is asked, where is all this money going to come from? CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Leslie Stahl reports on the president, the promises, and the price tags.
President Bush has been fighting tooth and nail to keep Congress from cutting his defense budget for next year, not only his request for stealth, but also the MX missile, Star Wars, and Midget Man.
Because I think the prime responsibility of a president is the national security of the United States.
But glasnost in the Soviet Union and budget cutting in the U.S. have dulled the appetite in Congress for fancy new weapons.
We're talking about spending megabucks and gigabucks at a time we have a tremendous deficit.
On top of the new weapons, the president wants a war on drugs. He wants to be the education president and clean up the air.
There is kind of a grand illusion being presented to the American people where promises are being made that we can go to Mars, that we can pay for a stealth bomber, that we can pay for a superconductor collider. But I haven't got a dime to pay for most of these programs. And I don't know where it's going to come from. There is nothing said about sacrifice in the American people as to how we're going to pay for these programs.
And President Bush is under pressure from his own cabinet to go beyond rhetoric. The housing secretary wants more money for the homeless. The transportation secretary wants funds to modernize the air traffic control system. And the nation's mayors are outraged that Mr. Bush wants more money for stealth than for fighting drugs.
$70 billion for one plane, and all they're spending nationwide on drug interdiction. $1 billion? Give me a break.
As someone said, Uncle Sam is running on empty. And the much-touted deficit reduction agreement turns out to be a shell game using accounting gimmicks to reach the Graham-Rudman deficit target of $100 billion next year. What's the real deficit?
So you're looking at a deficit that is very close to $220 billion.
The myth of deficit reduction and the pressure for increased spending lead to the inevitable question, will the president be forced to go to the public and say, we have to pay for what we spend? That means taxes. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Betsy Aaron on a new drug to help save premature babies. And Rita Braver on cocaine raids and civil rights.
Somewhere there's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got something the others don't. Miconazole.
There's nothing more powerful.
Hey! I'm giving away advice, not Micatin.
Say, what you got for my athlete's foot?
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cures athlete's foot. There's even a deodorant Micatin.
Then I'll take the Micatin. To go.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micatin. Look for new economy size powder.
Gonna be there a day early.
Good morning, it's me.
How's Mama doing? She okay?
Yeah.
It's already happening. People calling long distance with 1 free month of U.S. Sprint.
Well, good. We're gonna go coast to coast. Midnight here, we're just shutting down.
Call Sprint now. Get 1 free month plus the best savings versus AT&T. This is one offer that seems to be catching on.
Color Tiles Color Crazy Clearance Sale. Come now and save up to 67%. Save on ceramic tiles, in-stock Armstrong Sundial Solarian Sheet Vinyl, wall coverings, plus all Monsanto Weir Dated Carpet. Hurry to Color Tiles Color Crazy Clearance Sale. Sale ends Sunday.
Supercol Mint kills plaque germs.
But how does it taste?
Plaque fighting, Supercol Mint.
But how does it taste?
Tastes great.
Supercol Mint Mouthwash.
A team of federal investigators showed up today at the General Electric plant that made the engines on the United Airlines DC-10 that crashed in Iowa Wednesday. Investigators want to know why the fan section of the plane's tail engine apparently disintegrated, leading to the crash that took 111 lives. There was a potentially volatile development today relating to the failed engine, and Mark Phillips spent the day checking around Washington on that.
New suspicions have emerged about the tail engine of the United DC-10, which blew up and caused the crash of Flight 232 a week ago today. The engine has been removed from the tail section of the plane to be taken to the General Electric plant near Cincinnati, where it was built and where investigators have begun going through the manufacturing history of the engine. They now have something new to consider. A congressional committee today informed the FAA in a letter obtained by CBS News that General Electric had purchased rejected Air Force engine parts that could have been used on DC-10 engines. The letter calls for the FAA to investigate whether any of the scrap parts from what it called the Air Force's junkyard were in fact in the engines of the ill-fated flight.
These parts were contemned by the Air Force, and that would tend to indicate that they were unsuitable for use in any aircraft engine.
John Dingell's committee has been right about a similar case in the past. That time, rejected Air Force parts were installed by another manufacturer in F-15 and F-16 fighters. The parts were later blamed for crashes. All these parts come from a scrap dump at Kelly Air Force Base near San Antonio, where government investigators are now going through the books.
We were very concerned that parts were leaving the scrap yard and finding their way into the commercial world.
A General Electric spokesman told CBS News tonight that no rejected Air Force parts were used in the section of the DC-10 engine which exploded. They are still investigating whether used parts were installed elsewhere in the engine. In Sioux City, National Guard jets searching for crucial engine parts have been taking infrared photographs of the countryside. The latest photos did pick up some suspicious objects. As to the suspicions that the use of rejected Air Force parts might have contributed to the United crash, the FAA said late today that every aspect of the suspect engine's manufacture will be examined. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
Former Cornell University graduate student Robert Morris was indicted today for planting a virus that infiltrated more than 6,000 computers across the country. Morris's defense includes that he intended only a low-grade prank. What he touched off instead was a rampant epidemic last November that infected a national defense network of computers, among others. If convicted, he could face up to 5 years in prison, a fine of $250,000, plus restitution to damaged parties.
Morning,
This one
Joanne.
was approved, yes?
Right, and Steve knows about the change. The exclusion of the top 10.
This is my husband, Michael. He's under a lot of pressure, but now he's doing things differently. Like taking the stairs, eating more fruit, and cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook the foods he loves with Puritan oil. Puritan has no cholesterol and is 94% saturated fat-free. I've got an idea.
The health club before dinner. Great.
Michael is feeling wonderful. And I am too.
Puritan. Make it his oil for life.
Now, new scientific tests prove Heart's Blockade Repellent gives your pet total protection against fleas and ticks, or your money back. Unsolicited, here's what some satisfied Blockade users have told us.
I purchased a can of Blockade and sprayed my cat. The fleas started crawling off immediately. I am very impressed with this product and highly recommend it.
Since using Heart's Blockade, I haven't seen any fleas on Buster, nor have I had to remove any ticks from him. Blockade is wonderful, a dream come true.
Heart's Blockade, guaranteed flea and tick protection that really works.
Butterball turkey cold cuts. Any way you slice it, they're delicious. Butterball ham, Butterball bologna, or Butterball smoked turkey breast. They're up to 98% fat-free and all Butterball. So any way you slice it, it's
delicious.
This is one of 570 million refund locations for American Express traveler's checks. Now you can get a refund virtually anywhere there's a phone. Only from American Express traveler's checks. So if your bank doesn't carry them, go to one that does.
Federal officials called a meeting tonight of 150 residents of Niagara Falls, New York. Their homes are sitting on land contaminated by cancer-causing chemical waste. The government is pushing a temporary move-out. Richard Schlesinger reports the residents want a permanent buyout.
At the Forest Glen Trailer Park, just a few miles from Love Canal, where this country first learned about toxic waste dumps, the residents are finding out it has happened to them.
We're living on raw waste. Raw waste.
In parts of this neighborhood, the Environmental Protection Agency has placed plastic on the ground to keep the chemicals contained. But the residents here say they can still feel the effects of the toxic waste.
About 2 months ago, I cut the grass in my bare feet. And when I went to take a shower, my whole foot was covered with warts.
The EPA has found dangerous concentrations of at least 4 chemicals in the ground. All are toxic, some cause cancer. Investigators believe the chemicals came from one of several nearby plants and were dumped here in the 60s. It'll take time to find out who dumped the chemicals, but right now the priority is to get these people out.
We would advise them to move, but if they insist on staying, we're not going to force them out.
How strong is your advisory team?
As strong as it can be, yeah.
The federal government is offering to relocate these people temporarily, but the residents here say that's not good enough. They want to be bought out and leave permanently. For that to happen, the EPA has to conduct more tests and studies and satisfy the requirements of federal law. That, says the EPA, could take a year. Until then, federal authorities are hoping the people of Forest Glen will accept the offer and apply for temporary relocation.
Once they fill out that application for assistance, they'll have a check in 10 days to move out.
The residents of Forest Glen are blaming the federal bureaucracy for prolonging their ordeal. The government says it is moving as quickly as it can. A year, federal officials say, may be a long time to conclude all their tests, but it's half as long as it usually takes. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Niagara Falls, New York.
The government today approved wider use of an experimental drug to treat a breathing disorder that is the leading killer of premature babies. Perhaps the most famous victim was a boy born to President and Mrs. Kennedy in 1963. Betsy Aaron has our report.
They are the tiniest of infants, from 1.5 to 3 pounds at birth. 50,000 of them born prematurely each year in the United States suffer from respiratory distress syndrome, breathing difficulties from which 5,000 of them will die.
When you look at the baby, you can see this baby is struggling for breath.
Today, the Food and Drug Administration authorized the use of an experimental drug to prevent lung collapse, the leading cause of death and disability among newborns.
This is extremely exciting because babies that are born premature are under enormous risk.
The drug, called Exosurf, is a synthetic powder mixed with sterile water and administered through a ventilator tube into the lungs, coating them, protecting them from collapse.
In babies who got Exosurf, we have seen in hours babies come off respirator.
The drug still must receive final approval from the FDA. Until that time, some hospitals will continue to use already accepted treatments.
We would prefer to wait until everybody has evaluated it, until the evidence is in that this is the best preparation. But I wouldn't present it to parents as being the important intervention that makes that baby survive or not.
30 years ago, newborns suffering from breathing problems were most likely to die. Today, there is an arsenal of what doctors call silver bullets, helping to keep the tiniest, most premature babies alive. Betsy Aaron, CBS News, New York.
A research group financed by insurance companies told Congress today there was a 30% increase in fatalities last year on rural interstate highways that raised the speed limit to 65 miles an hour. That translates to an additional 550 deaths.
Do you like Raisin Bran?
Yes, I do.
Well, this is new Total Raisin Bran.
Oh.
It tastes just as good as your Raisin Bran.
Really?
But it has 4 times the vitamin nutrition.
4 times?
So can you think of one single reason why Total Raisin Bran shouldn't be your Raisin Bran? Just one. Waiting.
You don't have to be a professional athlete to know the importance of including whole grains in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties has the whole grain nutrition you want, no matter what field you're in. Just ask Oral Hershiser. Better get your whole grain.
Better eat your Wheaties.
Today's Wednesday, and like every day since recovering from my heart attack, my doctor's had me taking an aspirin.
If you've had a heart attack, ask your doctor how a regimen that includes exercise, a healthy diet, and try Buffered Bufferin every day might benefit you. Try Buffered Bufferin. Subaru apologizes to the residents of Casa Grande, Arizona, for driving the new Subaru Legacy 60,000 miles in 19 days for a new world record. If you're listening, Casa Grande, thank you.
Accounts surfacing today in China report yet another wave, this time of more than 3,000 arrests. They include the treasurer of the crushed pro-democracy student movement, who has been on the run. Police continued efforts to identify leaders of this week's first known political protest in China since the June massacre. Hundreds of students at Beijing University rallied to mock the government, one saying, "Sarcasm is our only means of dissent." Correspondent John Sheehan tells us the government is intent on teaching the students and their professors a lesson they'll never forget.
The Beijing campuses are sad and fearful places. Bulletin boards where pro-democracy posters flourished are now encased in glass. They show only the government's version of the brutal crackdown. Combat soldiers amidst the rubble at Tiananmen. Deng Xiaoping triumphantly congratulating the officers after the slaughter he claims never happened.
The official press says that enrollment is normal, but the talk on campus is that the incoming classes will be cut by 50%. That could mean that the government plans a purge of professors.
The new head of the Communist Party, Jiang Zemin, says that the academics need to be educated all over again to oppose Western ideas of democracy. Political re-education classes have begun. There is fear of a ruthless campaign to root out and punish any teacher who can be linked to Zhao Ziang, the deposed moderate party leader.
I would say that that is something that the people, the government now is concerned about, is that there were those in intellectual institutions and universities who supported Zhao's efforts.
At the Australian Embassy in Beijing, every one of these 30,000 applications represents a Chinese student already accepted to study down under. But the Australians say there's no telling how many will be refused exit visas by the Chinese secret police. The witch hunt is spreading. Those who believed that education should teach the young to think for themselves are told that once again everyone must let the party think for them or be branded enemies of the people. John Sheehan, CBS News, Beijing.
Cash or charge?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
I've got to have it.
There's still one more place to comparison shop.
I don't know where to start.
Here, by choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
That's the one.
It's perfect.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
It took 2,000 years, but a revolutionary discovery is changing the way men think about coloring their gray hair. It's called Just for Men, from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, shampoo out. Your gray is blended away, leaving your natural-looking color. 5 minutes. Here, look at me. Just for Men leaves your hair looking healthy and fuller, and it won't fade or wash out. Just for Men, in the men's hair care section.
The low-priced Subaru Justy with four-wheel drive. Think of it as a Range Rover that's more in your range.
This business may seem easy, but try doing this with minor arthritis pain. For years I took aspirin, but now there's Advil. It gives me hours of relief, yet it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
The preamble to the Constitution of the United States sets out a number of goals for the government, among them ensuring domestic tranquility and securing liberty. There are growing questions now about whether one of those goals may be falling victim to the other in the much publicized war on drugs. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver looks into this dilemma in our series, An American Crisis. Tonight, wrong versus rights.
We have found increasingly, as we have gone in to evict people from their residences, that they're not all law-abiding citizens. In fact, an increasing amount have been people engaged in the drug business.
United States Marshal.
The Bush administration brings in SWAT teams to help Washington, D.C. carry out evictions of suspected drug dealers. Part of a new policy to bear down hard on every aspect of the drug trade.
United States Marshal.
This country has got to step up and realize that what's going on, particularly to some of our citizens who are in the worst situation, in our inner cities, many of our minorities, they are at war and they are being slaughtered by the druggies.
United States Marshal, open the door! Come on, come on!
But there is also concern that some of the measures introduced to fight the drug war may be resulting in an assault on individual rights. Concern that one of the greatest tragedies of the drug epidemic may be that it forces Americans to choose between personal safety and personal liberty. Cases in point. Police and agents fly helicopters over private property, looking in open fields or even into buildings where marijuana is suspected. Law enforcement officers can stop highway or air travelers who fit drug courier profiles. And many public and private employers can demand that employees submit to drug tests.
It's the whole business of creating a society in which we are all suspects. And I don't see the greater good. I see more police power, I see more drugs than ever, and I see less privacy.
Wysotsky worries about new rules in public housing projects like these, where residents who want to get in must show ID badges.
CHA.
And the Housing Authority and local police conduct surprise inspection sweeps, going into private apartments to look for drugs. But here in Chicago, residents we spoke with say they welcome the new restrictions. And they say they had much less freedom when drug dealers controlled their projects.
We tired of it. We just tired of it. You get tired of the drugs, you get tired of the shooting. We just trying to turn this place, get back the decency that it had before.
Even some innocent victims caught in the drug dragnet agree. Jeannie Doris and her son Lavelle were almost evicted because a friend was arrested for selling drugs from their housing project apartment when they were out. Ms. Doris fought the eviction in court and won, but she still likes the eviction policy. You're not bitter about it.
At first I was very angry, but I don't want them to give up because there's still a lot of people out here that are selling drugs. Don't give up because of me, because I was innocent. But keep fighting. The ones that are selling drugs, they need to leave. All of them need to go.
But not everyone supports harsh measures. This Washington, D.C. family joined with others in a suit that blocked the city from trying to combat drugs by putting a teenage curfew law into effect.
It violated my rights. It's just not fair for myself and for all kids under 18 years of age.
What is happening now is sort of a panic, closing in. What are we going to do about this? The government could come up with one justification after another because we've just created this foundation for limiting people's rights.
I'm not terribly moved. I mean, I'm opposed to any violation of anybody's civil liberties. But for every one offense by the police or by the courts or by the prosecutors, there are 1,000 offenses by criminals who don't take any pains to worry about how far they've gone.
Tell those people that we got K9 units coming up there to
The war on drugs is expected to escalate during the long, hot summer of 1989.
Okay.
So too is the debate over whether measures aimed at stifling drug traffic end up stifling personal freedoms as well. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. See you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith. Tomorrow, a riches to rags story. A man who won the lottery and then lost it all. Also, the Bee Gees join us on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.